like this is your living room. I mean, but like, so this is common for you, right?
Welcome to my home.
Yeah. So I remember there was a time when horror movies actually scared me. And then I got into horror movies and I just thought they were cool.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was a kid where like they'd scare me. And it'd be the thing is like you'd watch the movie and then you go to bed and you're laying in bed and they have all this, it's all going through your mind and it's scaring and it's just and it made me think, like, why do we like things that scare us?
Probably the same reason why we like going on roller coasters. The same reason when we were kids we liked to, do Ding Dong Ditch. I can't use the other name. Or toilet paper. I think it does something to your flight or fight. There's something that happens. There's like a chemical release of joy. Now, there's people that, when they watch horror movies, they don't watch horror movies. Yeah. They don't like being scared. I thought that was a pretty corny phobia, but I didn't know there was a phobia against clowns. Yeah. My mother was a party clown, and she would tell me about these people that were genuinely afraid of her. Yeah, yeah. And I thought they were like, oh, you're scary. No, there's people that genuinely, when they see a clown, it triggers something and they freak out, which is why I think Pennywise was so popular. Or anytime you see it, or the clown in Poltergeist, that really stayed with people. But I think the main reason we like being scared is it's like a roller coaster. It's that adrenaline. There's something about suspense, something like, that Alfred Hitchcock, I want to say he kind of created, where you're kind of like, something's gonna happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but there's that thing that happens when you're waiting for something to happen, and that's a cool feeling. That's a really, it's an experience. It makes you forget that you have to go to work in the morning.
It's true. I remember, growing up in Pennsylvania in the coal region, there's a lot of abandoned buildings because everything was just so old.
Right.
So that was always kind of exciting to go.
An abandoned building or house is scary.
But you don't do it at like 2:00 in the afternoon. You do it like midnight when everything's dark, and it's just to add for that effect.
I love going to cemeteries.
Yeah.
I love doing that. But there's been times when I'm, just waltzing around a cemetery and the wind goes a certain way and you're just kind of like looking around and you kind of like take it in. And I don't know. I start thinking of movies like, Night of the Living Dead or Salem's Lot. Prime example, Salem's Lot.
Okay.
After the second brother's funeral.
Yeah.
And the gravedigger goes over to the grave. I mean, it's broad daylight and the wind starts blowing like funeral wreaths down. And then he opens up the coffin. I forget why. I think he hears like clawing.
Yeah.
And it's broad daylight and you see that kid and his eyes are open, but they're just white. I remember that visual really, really stuck with me. Salem's Lot, you want to talk about why we like being... There's some, you talk about the nighttime, the window, and the kid just floating up and just scratching at the window. Let me...
Do you think maybe the reason why we like things that scare us is because it creates... It's more emotional than anything. You said like fight or flight.
Yeah, it opens up that fight or flight.
But it's almost like an emotional thing.
Well, yeah.
It's almost like kind of like why you like music. You listen to, music because it creates an emotion, whether it's like happiness or sadness. But is it a thing where like if things scare us, it's more of like you immediately like you get that adrenaline.
I think it happens. Well, yeah, there's that adrenaline.
And to get that feeling.
There's also a cocktail of chemicals that are released when everything's going to be okay. When you're in that fearful moment of the film and you're scared what's going to happen. And you got to understand, this happened, you were just talking about, you remember when movies used to scare you.
Yes.
Okay, you have this whole experience where you don't know what's going on.
Yep.
And then at the end, everything's going to be okay. That feels good. But you're also downloading all of that You're also downloading all of these. You were probably like me. You watched horror movies at a young age.
Yeah.
You're downloading those images. It's a frickin' assault on your senses on your pristine hard drive.
So you may be asking yourself, how can I join the Tiki Goth Club? Well, there is no membership. There are no fees. But I have shirts for sale. They're $20 a piece, $5 shipping and handling. If you're interested, go to my website, tikiwithray.com. There's a prompt that says buy a shirt. Follow that, and then that's how you can get your own.
But why do we like being scared? I think there's a number of reasons. I think as far as being scared, as far as also when it comes to horror movies, different types of horror. Some people like gore.
Yeah.
How gory can it get? Or some people like monsters, aliens, and visual effects, and the creatures, and and that's a thrill for them. I've always been personally fond of a psychological thriller, something that really gets in your psyche.
Yeah.
Case in point, The Exorcist.
Okay.
Now, The Exorcist was a long, road for me because when I was a kid, I only saw the edited for TV version. It wasn't until I was like 10 or 9 that I actually took in that film and what was actually going on in it.
Yeah.
And it's to this day, I've seen it out in the theater. It does something to me. The sounds, that's something about horror. It's not just the visual assault that you're getting. It's also the sounds. It's the music. Every horror villain that we love has a song or a theme. You know, Michael Myers, Freddy. He's got the that really creepy piano. 1, 2.
For me, like The Shining. It's
The Shining.
Like
you associate with all these classic horror films that really scared us.
Yeah. With
music, there's certain music that sticks with you. The first movie that really scared me to death was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay.
And I think the main reason I was like 7, I didn't see any advertisement for that movie. I didn't even know it was out in the theater. It was, the typical Friday night with Dad. We go to the video store, and what's out? That one. All I knew about that movie was the cover, and there was no Freddy. I didn't know what a Freddy was. All you saw was that artwork of Nancy. It was this really cool painting, and you just saw 4 knives going across her face.
Yeah.
If Nancy doesn't wake up screaming, she won't wake up at all. I remember that, and I'm like, that.
Do you think the reason why we like things that scare us is because it makes you feel something?
Oh God! It makes the only other thing other than that's what a movie is. That's what a good movie is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Drama. When you watch a good movie that really pulls at the heartstrings, and not in a corny way. If you see a movie that really does that, that's power, man. That's something. When art does that to you, when it's powerful and a good drama, if you feel yourself tearing up at a movie, unless you're like psychologically fucked up, that's a good movie. It's doing something to you. It's making you feel something. The polar opposite of a horror movie is comedy, like something that can genuinely make you laugh.
Yeah.
And you're still laughing about it afterwards. It's hard to see. We're all so desensitized now with comedy, and I don't even know what's illegal to be funny anymore, but it's like a movie like Blazing Saddles, I could watch that over and over again and still laugh like I did the first time. There's just something about it. And when a movie can still scare you 40 years later after you've seen it, like The Exorcist, that movie still does it. When I watch it and I hear the first notes of the song, when it's those Warner Brothers movies, when I hear that music, I feel the thing happening on the back of my neck. It doesn't so much with like Nightmare on Elm Street anymore, because Freddy's become like James Bond. It's more of a comedy. But that first movie, I'll still see it, and I'll remember how I felt when I first watched it. And I love the evolution of horror movies, and I've gone to them for all different types of reasons, whether it was gore. During the late 90s, Wes Craven kicked off a new genre of horror movies with the Scream franchise, and there was a whole bunch of those type of movies. Nowadays, they're doing that psychological horror again with movies like Hereditary and Midsommar.
That's in daylight.
That whole movie's in daylight. The whole thing is daylight, and it is a creepy film.
Yeah, I have.
Hereditary.
I've seen them both once, and I'm good. Well, it's funny, like, it's
because
funny.
they have visuals that will stick with you.
Yeah,
And I don't know if I like feeling scared at those movies. Those movies are just those are tapping into a whole new realm.
They make you feel ill in a weird way. But it's funny, like you bring up like comedies, right? And as we're talking, I was thinking about like the different genres of movies. It's like, okay, comedy, drama, sure, there's action,
yeah,
but they're all still in the real world, you know.
Yeah.
If there's a comedy, there's gonna be houses, there's gonna be schools, there's gonna be an office. But when it comes to horror, do you think maybe the reason why we like things that scare us is because it's like escapism? Because it's gonna take you somewhere. You're gonna go somewhere that you're gonna see stuff that you're normally not gonna see. Like say like an amusement park, like going into like a haunted house, right? You're just stepping over something.
Yeah.
And for this whole thing, you are going into an environment that you don't normally see.
Right.
You're gonna feel emotions and feel things that you normally don't feel. I think maybe what it is like life is like, sadly, life for a lot of people and for the most part can be kind of boring and routine,
monotonous and mundane.
Yeah, and you see the same thing every day. Everything's, but say even like watching the horror, like you want like we talk about like say like Dracula or Frankenstein, like all that early stuff. It's like you're in castles, you're in Victorian homes. You're like, I don't see this shit.
That's the whole point. Yeah, well, that's the whole point of any film. It is escapism, and that's what film buffs are. I'm an escapist. You know, everybody's like, you know, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a frickin' Easter egg. I don't know what people do anymore. I know I like to escape.
So bringing this to tiki, there's a misnomer like when people think about tiki bars, it's like you're on a beach, and you know, it's like you're pretending like you're on an island.
Tiki torches and Hawaiian shirts.
And the thing is, like, no,
I think of parent heads.
A tiki bar is supposed to, my allure, or how it should be, it's dark and mysterious and slightly scary. You know, you're going into this, a lot of times there's no windows on and you're like, what the hell's going on inside there? And you're going in, and all of a sudden everything's black, everything is dark as hell. You're seeing these like giant tikis that are like almost like screaming at you.
Yeah.
You're looking at the menu, you're like, what the these are the drinks, and there's a drink called a zombie? What the hell is this, you know? and I think for with tiki bars, it's like, not that it scares you, but there's that element of like a little bit of fear. And kind of going out of your comfort zone. And
there's also probably an element of escapism, because when you walk through that door, you're in a different world. You're not at the regular strip mall, you know, Barney's. Yeah. You know, where there's pull tabs and a sports game on, and, you know, you hear that damn dart machine in the back. Yeah.
Exactly. Like
there's a pool table, and there's usually like a Budweiser light over it.
Yep. Even that,
we've all been in that same bar.
And you're exactly right. I mean, like a regular bar, it's like, yeah, we've been there.
Been there. There's chicken wings on the menu. Yeah. A bunch
Pull
of
tabs
dudes,
if you're living here.
A bunch of dudes that don't have anything interesting to say, but they're really interested in what they're talking about. And you know, they're going to have karaoke on Friday nights. There you go. That's your average bar. You go into a tiki bar. You feel like you're on a set of a movie if it's really well done. And
exactly.
It's like, okay, I'm glad to be here. This is cool. And, you know, you have a drink called a Surf's Up or whatever you tiki people do. I got into special effects makeup. I saw Nightmare on Elm Street. And then my mom got me this Tom Savini makeup book, and I just started buying like all this fake skin. Like it used to come in a little tub, so I bought like 8 of them, and I made like my own Freddy Krueger face. You know, it sparks like your imagination and your creativity if you get really wrapped up in it.
Yeah, but what no one told you back then, though,
was that I sucked at special effects makeup.
Was that shit wasn't going to get you laid.
No. And it still doesn't.